Hey everyone. Today's question comes in response to my blog this week. It came from one of the subscribers on my list, and I don't have her permission to use her name. So I'm just going to call her Jane. I'm going to use her name and I'll just say it's Jane. And her question is this: what if I am the one that has ruined our marriage and know that it was wrong and would rather not stay in a place where I know I have failed him? To know that for the rest of my life is torture. I torture myself, telling myself that I am unworthy of him, which I am. I don't blame him for anything and never will. I blame myself and I always will. Can one live a life in peace like that, knowing exactly what you feel and knowing you can never take anything back? Seeing him every day reminds me of my past and reminds me of what happened. I cannot look past that. I'm a strong person, but how long can a strong person live in self torture? It is definitely taking a toll on me physically. I want to be in a place where I don't feel like that person I once was. Sometimes I feel like starting over with someone else will help me see I'm not a horrible person after all. Maybe I am and know it and would rather just be single. I don't know. These thoughts are in my head every day, constantly torturing me. Thank you for listening to my cries. So, Jane, thank you for reaching out and allowing us to take a look at your question today. You have a lot of thoughts around things that have happened in the past that are causing you obviously a great deal of pain. And it's really honestly fairly normal thinking for humans when they experience deep regret over the choices that they've made to feel this way. And I believe that those feelings of remorse can be really useful for us short term because it teaches us that we don't want to make the same mistake again. We want to learn from it and grow and make better choices. So, where remorse becomes a problem is when we stay stuck in those thought loops, which is what's happening for you here. Instead of processing your emotion and accepting that we can't change the past. Listen, if we could change the past, I'd be all in. I'd say, yes, go back and fix that. But there's no going back, right? What's done is done. So, accepting what we can't change and moving on to do better is where we allow some healing. But right now, you're sort of just kind of wallowing in that space and indulging in that painful thinking over and over, which doesn't allow us to see any hope for the future. It just kind of keeps you stuck in that really painful thought cycle. This is what we do. We make ourselves the judge and the jury. We decide for ourselves this is an unforgivable offense, right? Our brains tell us that it's really necessary to hate on ourselves. And somehow we convince ourselves that if we forgive ourselves, we're condoning that behavior that we abhor. We're letting ourselves off the hook somehow. And so, if that were true, I want you to think about this for a minute. If that were true, and that we couldn't have forgiveness in our lives, we couldn't move on after mistakes, no one in the world would have a happy future. Everyone who's human makes mistakes. Since we are human and we do make mistakes, and forgiveness is an option, we have to extend that to ourselves as well as other people, right? So often it's easier to forgive other people than it is to forgive ourselves. But for our society as a whole, not only as an individuals, but also as a people and a society, we have to have forgiveness in our society, in our humanity. Most of you know that I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And one of our primary principles in our faith is forgiveness. We believe that grace is extended to us through the atonement of Jesus Christ. But no matter your faith or what you believe, that principle of forgiveness is one that all humans need to embrace. We have to have it in order to experience joy in our lives. And I believe fully that as human beings, that's one of our main purposes is to have that joy. So let's take a look at your model here. In your circumstance line, you don't come out and specifically say that you had an affair, but I'm guessing that that's what it is because of your vernacular. So you had an affair. That's your C line. That's just your fact. That's what happened. Now, we're not saying that it because it's here, it's neutral. We can have thoughts about it. Facts can be bad if we decide that we want to have a bad thought about it. Right now, your thought is seeing my husband every day reminds me of my past and I can't look past it. That's your thought. Like, this was my fact, my circumstance, and this is my thought. When I see him, it reminds me of my past. I can't move forward, right? The feeling that you have is self-hatred. You're really in self-loathing, really torturing yourself there. How do you act when you feel that way? How do you act? You beat yourself up. You think of how you ruined your marriage. Maybe you act depressed or guilty when you're with him. I'm not sure how your actions are when you're with him. You did not tell me that portion of it. But my guess is you're not showing up as a real happy, friendly person. Maybe you're really withholding and acting depressed and guilty and sorry all the time. You kind of think guilt, you feel guilty. You think about leaving in order to get rid of that pain. You think maybe if I'm with someone else, then I won't feel like such a bad person because seeing him reminds me of that, right? Okay, so you're thinking about leaving in order to feel better. You think of only the ways that you've hurt him. Every time you see him, you're thinking, ruminating again, thinking about how you've hurt him, wondering why he stays, ruminating about all the pain and suffering you've caused him. Super torturous for yourself. And your result for yourself is you don't move on. You continue to torture yourself. You stay stuck in the past and you don't have a future because you are always constantly reliving that past over and over and over again. So we got to go back to your model here, excuse me, and take a look at your thought line. Remember, our circumstance is neutral. We have to pick the thought that we want to have about the circumstance. And if we are using the idea that human beings can move forward, that we can have forgiveness, when we see your husband, what else can we think? Seeing him every day reminds me of my past. What else could we possibly think about husband? When you see him, could you think something different? Like, I'm so lucky to be loved by this forgiving man. Think about that sentence. I'm lucky to be loved by this forgiving man. Does that create a different feeling for you than self-hatred? Right? Can you see that just a little tweak, a little thought, a change in your thought can change the way you feel? From that feeling, everything down here in the action and result line changes too. A couple other possible thoughts could be, he forgives me, so maybe it's possible for me to forgive myself too. We're not jumping to, I totally forgive myself and everything's fine, but maybe it's possible that I can start extending that grace to myself. Maybe it's possible, right? If I have possibility, is my feeling line different? Do I maybe have some optimism there, some hope for the future? And maybe another possible thought here for your thought line is, hey, the way he still loves me shows me that second chances are possible. Maybe I'll use this second chance to love him in the way that he really deserves to be loved. All of that goes here in the thought line. If we can just find a way to change this thought every time you see him, stop thinking about the way that you've hurt him and stop focusing on the past and start looking for ways that you can heal and move forward and mend. That will change your model. But you first have to understand that this thought is optional. You don't have to keep that thought forever because you're human and because you have a prefrontal cortex where you can choose your own thinking. You get to decide how you want your life to look, how you want to think moving forward. Do you want to stay stuck in the past? You're not helping either one of you by focusing on the past. It's over and done. We can't change it, but we can learn from it. We can use this experience to become better. And that's really the opportunity that you have now. Changing your husband is not going to solve that problem for you. Only your thinking is going to give you any long-term relief, because no matter where you go, no matter who you're married to, or even if you're single, you're going to take your brain with you. It's always going to be there. You're always going to have your thoughts. So you have to do that work on your thinking in order to enjoy your life. Changing your circumstance is not the answer for you here. I will share one more thing with you too. I work with many clients who are on the other side of this coin. Their spouse was the one who cheated. And once they work through their own personal feelings of betrayal and sadness around that, they do want to move forward. They want to get beyond it. So if you are there holding them back, if you're there saying, yeah, no, we can't move forward, you're hurting both of you all over again. So really consider that too as you work through this idea of self punishment and needing to pay for this for the rest of your life. This is something I think you really need some help with. I would love to work through this with you. If you are interested in coaching any further, please book a free call with me and let's see if you are a good fit for my program because I have a lot of hope for you. Um, I don't think anything is permanent, and I believe in forgiveness, and I can help show you how to create that for yourself in your life. Okay, friends, that's it for today. Have a wonderful week.